Hello, nerds. We are playing Beat the Clock. I've got a dying battery. I've got only X amount of time to edit and film and all of that jazz. So hopefully we can get through this. If not, you won't even know. So let's jump into the intro so we can jump into the news. Alright, so like I said, we're not even going to waste time with housekeeping. We're just jumping right into music news. Music news, we have an update from the Misfits. Glenn Danzig says that there will no longer be any more Misfits reunion shows after their Madison Square Garden show, and that is until Danzig needs more money, because that seems to be the way it goes. That's the only reason he did the show, or did these reunion shows, was because he had to settle a dispute so he could get paid for Misfits stuff, and so yeah, next time Danzig needs money, we'll see more Misfits, I'm sure. Next, we've got a new video from Cold. We've been kind of keeping tabs on the new album from these guys. Super excited that it's happening. You can check the link in the description. Go watch the video. It's not bad, though it is exactly what you would expect out of Cold. Nothing surprising here. And then our last piece is Norma Jean put out a new song for a new record, and it's not... So, I don't like Norma Jean. I didn't like Norma Jean when they first came around because they were super scene kids and they were image over substance, and the substance that they did have just didn't sit right with me, so there was a whole lot going on that was just offensive to my senses. And now it's offensive to my senses for a different reason, because it sounds completely washed out. It's radio fodder. This is them trying to make a buck, and you can check the link in the description for the song and tell me I'm wrong, but this is not the Norma Jean I used to hate. This is something I hate for different reasons. We're gonna rush, because time is limited. So, first up, we have TV, and in TV, we are getting a sequel series, something kind of, for Saved by the Bell, which is very strange. They're calling it a TV sequel in everything that I've read. I don't know exactly what that means, if it's going to be a continuation, kind of like that BH 90210 thing that is apparently getting good reviews, or ratings rather. But the interesting thing about this, what's the main character that we all think about when we think of Saved by the Bell? Zack Morris. And he's not going to be a part of this. Mostly because the actor is on a rival network right now, so it was like, well, we can't really bring him onto our network because he's got a contract with them, so that's interesting. Zack Morris is not, at least at first, going to be a part of the Saved by the Bell revival. Next is probably one of the coolest things I read while doing research for this episode is Boondocks is getting a revival, continuation, a TV sequel, if you will. 2 seasons have been signed on over at HBO Max. Not 1, but 2. HBO Max believes in Boondocks so much they blindly signed up for 2 more. Well, blindly. They've seen the stuff that's come out previously, so they know what they're getting. And hopefully it's going to be just as great as the previous seasons. But yes, HBO Max is getting Boondocks. Next, we're talking Netflix and Glow. If you are a wrestling fan, then you probably have seen all 3, I guess, seasons of Glow, and they just announced that there will be a 4th season, in fact, and it's going to be the final season. But since it's not just prematurely being canceled, we will get a conclusion to this story, which is really awesome. Next, we're talking about Walking Dead. Season 10 is almost upon us, and we just got character bios, and in the character bios, we got some really interesting information, not the least of which being King Ezekiel is dropping the pretense. I don't know how that's going to change the character, but that might explain that kiss between he and Michonne that we saw in the trailers. As soon as season 10 starts airing, we're going to talk about it a little bit more, but it is not to that point yet. And our final thing for TV is Crisis on Infinite Earths. Tom Welling just announced that he's going to be a Superman in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And we know this. He kind of sort of let that slip, quote unquote slip, on his Twitter a few weeks ago. We talked about it then. Now, though, it has officially been announced by E.T. Online, in an interview they did with him, that he, yes, is in fact going to be playing Superman in an actual Superman suit and potentially flying and all of the things that he didn't get to do on Smallville. It drove me freaking insane when that show was on. Anyway, that's what we got for TV. Let's move into movies. Movies, we've got Princess Bride. Apparently there is a rumor that has kind of sort of been started by Variety, even though Variety didn't put it up on their site proper. It's just on their Twitter account that very powerful people, quote unquote, are looking to remake The Princess Bride, and the internet freaking threw up at this news because why would you do such a thing? Because Variety didn't put it on their main site, that leads me to believe that the person that made the statement may or may not know what they're talking about, but we're gonna move on. Next, we're talking about Silver Surfer. We have been talking about the fact that Silver Surfer is potentially going to be one of the first, if not the first, X-Men related franchise that gets a movie in the MCU. Now, Geeks World Wide says that the movie is actively in pre-production. That's all they've said, though. There's no elaboration as to whether or not there's been production staff or directorial staff or anything made, any of that kind of progress made so far. But it is in the works, according to them, so it is Geeks Worldwide, so take that with a giant grain of salt. Next, we're talking about Black Widow. This is a follow-up to our previous news piece about Tony Stark being in the Black Widow movie. Apparently, Robert Downey Jr. will not be on set for this. He already has filmed this footage. It is an outtake from the Civil War movie, which kind of makes it a little less exciting, but still, he's going to be in the movie, so there you go. Next, we're talking about the X-Men. This one is actually kind of a week old, and I can't believe I missed it when I was doing the research for the previous 2 episodes, but apparently they're looking to change Magneto and Professor X in the MCU version of the X-Men, which honestly isn't a horrible idea. It's not the best idea, but really, if you think about it, Magneto is a survivor of the Holocaust, which makes him freaking 100 years old as of when the next X-Men movie theoretically would be taking place. And that doesn't make any sense. So they're going to have to reboot a lot of things about that. And if he's that old and Professor X is supposed to be of a comparable age, that does not make for compelling storytelling unless they throw in some crazy thing that also isn't in the comics about how the X gene preserves them so they can live longer. And that's just silly. So that's to say that I'm behind a change as long as the change makes sense. And then our last piece of movie news has to do with Ant-Man 3. Apparently, Disney Plus is going to be getting Ant-Man 3 and not the movie theaters. That's not to say they're making a direct-to-streaming movie. That is to say, though, that they have canceled Ant-Man 3 as a movie and are now reworking it into a Disney Plus series. How do you feel about that? That's an interesting change, but not necessarily a bad one, because that means we get more Ant-Man in the end, right? Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is kind of awesome, really. So definitely let me know what you guys think about that, but that is all we have for movies. All right, now we're moving into gaming news. Gaming news, we've got Batman is coming to Fortnite. You can check the link in the description. There's a reveal thing that's happening on the YouTubes, and it's very interesting. I have to re-download Fortnite now because if it has Batman in it, then I must have it. It must be a thing that I have. Apex Legends announced their new, to no one's real surprise if you've been following the leaks, has announced their new legend. It is going to be Crypto, who is apparently a hacker, and how that is going to factor into gameplay, I don't know, but I'm super excited to find out. And then we got a new announcement, and this one makes me a little sad, but it could be good. A new announcement for a Terminator game that is going to be releasing with the movie approximately November 15th in Europe and Australia, and December 3rd in North America is when it will be releasing. and it looks like it could be interesting, though story-wise it seems like they've shoehorned a lot of stuff in order to incorporate it into the movie universe, and we all know that movie tie-in games have a horrible track record, so Europe and Australia, you guys are going to be the beta testers apparently, and I don't have high hopes. Now let's talk about comic books, and we have two things in comic books, and then we're going to end the episode, and I just beat the dead battery, hopefully. So first, the 2099 event over in Marvel just released a couple of one-shots. We got synopses and cover art for one-shots that are going to tie into the 2099 event that we talked about a few episodes ago. And this is bringing in Doctor Doom, Venom, and Ghost Rider, which we kind of already knew these guys were coming in, but now we see their one-shots, and it looks pretty freaking sweet. So let's talk about Birds of Prey, and that's the last piece of news. Birds of Prey, as we talked about in previous episode, that they're releasing the kind of best of trades. There's 3 trades that have the 3 main characters from the movie on the cover, and they're just not, it's not new stuff. Well, this is new stuff. Brian Azzarello is writing a new Birds of Prey story, and Azzarello, though I think he might say it Azzarello, it's definitely Azzarello is how it should be pronounced. Anyway, he is writing this new story, and it's going to mirror some of the things in the new movie, in that it's going to be the same main characters, because Harley Quinn was not, generally speaking, a bird of prey. She's not usually part of the team. So they're writing a book where she is a part of the team. Azzarello's in charge of it, and they just announced that it's now a DC Black Label book, which is very interesting because the movie was originally pitched to be an R-rated movie, so if we're getting a Black Label version of the book, maybe it'll reflect something good on the movie. I don't know, but it's interesting to think about, and that's the end of the episode. What did I miss? What should we talk about in the next one? Let me know in the comments down low. Next time I will have a fully charged battery, and I won't be talking so fast. GenerallyNerdy.net is the website. Patreon.com/GenerallyNerdy is the place to go support the channel. You know, the things and the stuff, like, subscribe, share, all of that jazz. If you're falling behind, there's stuff over there to the left of my face. You can catch up, you can do whatever you want, but always remember, guys, that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.